And I think now we live in a time to where, one of the buzzwords, which I don't personally like this buzzword, but toxic masculinity and
Talk
all of
about it.
that is floating around. We live in that time where
Oh, stop. I know you got more, but I am like, my sensitivity have been.
I'm sorry.
Tell me just if a line or two, what do you dislike about this toxic masculinity phrase?
I think it is just a soundbite and a symptom of a larger construct.
Mhm.
And since everything has to be reduced to characters in social media and it's all clickbait, it's just to get us to click on it. But actually anybody can be toxic, I think. And from what I've seen with the descriptions of toxic masculinity, it points to things that are, you know, I don't think that defines masculinity.
Mhm. What up, tribe? We have an extremely special guest today, and this woman is the founder of Black and Gold, the storytelling event. She is a published author, and she's got a real good book that's in these streets right now, a collection of poems called Collective Madness. Absolutely, you want to get that. She is also an English professor. She is a writing coach, and she's got a workshop she's going to tell you about. She is a very proud Black woman. She is a hip hop enthusiast. She is the child, a daughter of Arkansas. She is where my maternal lineage is from. Just in case y'all didn't know, Arkansas represent. Go Razorbacks. And she is also a personal friend of mine, and that is the one, the only, the incomparable Dr. Adrienne Danyelle Oliver. What up, lady? How art thou?
Hey, oh my God, Porter. It is so good to be on ABT. Hanging out.
That's
You know,
That's right. It's so glad to have you sit down, man, with the tribe. You feel me? Absolutely. And so hey, so look, okay. You have a lot of things to plug because you do a lot. Okay. First thing, what is Black Gold Storytelling Event? How can people be down with that?
right. So Black Gold, you mentioned Arkansas. I
Mhm.
am originally from Little Rock, Arkansas. I moved here in
Shout
22.
out Fort Smith, y'all. Shout out Fort Smith, Arkansas.
We got Fort Smith represented in the building too.
My people's from Fort Smith in a building. All right, go ahead.
And when I first moved to Oakland, now 13 years ago, I had no idea there were so many people here with connections to the South.
Mhm.
And I read this book, The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson, and she, just brilliantly tells those migration stories. And I just started talking to more people that live in Oakland, and they all had some type of connection to the South. And so Black Gold Storytellers is an event to feature elders who have those stories. And so I contract local, East-based storytellers. So if you're watching and you're a storyteller and you're interested, tap in, because I'm always looking for talent to help me tell the stories. And the project, I applied for a City of Oakland Cultural Funding Program grant about maybe 5 years ago, just to kind of see if they would fund it. And they love the project. Now they're funding it for a third year.
What?
So, and we also got some support from the Akanati Foundation. Shout out to them. And this year we were recognized by the YBCA 100 as one of their honorees for being a cultural kind of, I guess, beacon for Bay Area culture. So I mean, from that little seed of an idea 5 years ago, the project has really grown. And people love hearing these stories about the South from Oakland elders. And yeah, so that's Black Gold.
It be lit. It be lit, English professor. So no, I've gone to, I think, two. And my goodness, you draw quite a crowd. It's on Zoom. You're still doing it on Zoom, right?
Yep, we're doing it on Zoom.
You have that Zoom room full and energy is very high. The people like it. You have local celebrities on there. What's the sister's name that has the art? Joyce.
Joyce Gordon. Yeah, we had Joyce Gordon featured on there. Yeah.
That was amazing. That was amazing, as well as people who have been teaching in Oakland Unified School District. You have people, just hardworking people, just to make up the backbone of our Black community, and they all have a story to tell, and the place for them to tell it is Black Gold Storytelling. And I think it's a great idea. I see why you've been funded, and people have been so receptive to it. I think it's pretty awesome. When's the next one, Ao?
So we're planning to do one this summer. So if you're watching, also stay tuned. It'll be in August. I like to try to do themed events, like that last one I think you came to was for Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. We had Ishmael Reed, Judy Juanita, and Emory Douglas were featured. I mean, so heavy hitters, like you said.
Yeah.
So this next one is still in the planning phases, and we hope to do that showcase in time for Black August.
Yeah. What is Black August? What you talking about?
It is an homage. You put me on the spot. It's like an homage to Black liberation connected to George Jackson, and
okay.
I'll have to.
Solidad brother, absolutely.
Hey,
Okay, all right, for sure. No, that's dope. That's super cool. I guess there's this website, I guess, you know.
Yeah, blackgoldstorytellers.com is the website, and you can tap in and read some of the other stories that we've told so far. And also we have replays of every event on that page. So part of the grant funding has funded this just beautiful archive. I didn't design it. I love the website. A shout out to my web designer who built it. You can actually just click on each story and read more about the elders that are featured, and also the storytellers, because we really focus on there being a relationship between the storyteller and the elder that they get to interview.
Oh, that's nice. You know what? I hope that this person, the major website, is available, and I hope that they are cheap, because ABT needs a website. We do have a meetup page, which has been going on for a long time, but I'm getting deeper and deeper into that branding, especially as we take our trip to Ghana in November. So, so you're gonna have to shoot me that information.
Yeah, I'll send you William Ramirez, just to give him a shout out, a little plug. I'll send you the information though.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Oh my God. So look, so that's Black Gold Storytelling. You also have your own group, and you teach them how to write confidently, with passion, and with joy, because you're a writer, and that positive energy is infectious. Now, I want to get into specifically what you do, but first, I know you and I, we chop it up for real, right? We go back. Listen, we got some years on us. We got our relationship. Yeah, like it's been years. It's been, when I stop to think about it, it's like since like dang it, 10 years.
That's what I said, a decade.
10 years. My goodness, back when I was doing Soulful, the poet.
You can bring Soulful back, Porter. You got to bring Soulful back.
Soulful, for y'all, listen, man, for my people who know what Soulful is, that means you've been following me for a long time. I love you. If you don't know what Soulful is, I still love you. But yeah, Porter used to be in a building. I used to hold a reading series for the people that wrote prose writing and people that did poetry and people that sang and all that type of stuff. And we used to convene at a Black-owned business that is now the Perch. It's the Perch now on Grand Avenue. It used to be, I think, the Grand Coffee House or something like that. And it was a Black-owned spot. The homies, they used to show me love there. I used to have that thing popping, man, window sweating. I mean, from the window to the wall. You would think that it was a club, not reading up in there, but it was just that thick. AO says I need to bring it back, man. I don't know, man. Y'all drop a comment, email awkwardblacktribe@gmail.com. If you really want it back, man, I might be able to work something out. I still got some connections. But your thing, though, we be talking, we be English professor, we be, I'm speaking our native tongue here, okay? We be talking, and we talk about your event, as awesome as it is, but you also talk about the desire for you to have more brothers, man, more brothers in the house, more brothers in the fold, more brothers sitting down, and being exposed to the transformative and therapeutic experience of writing, okay? And so I have thoughts as to why the brothers don't come through. I was wondering if you could, it's like a two-part question. First, tell us what it is, lay it out, just in case there's a few brothers out there that didn't know and they do write and they want a place to be, feel safe, you know what I mean, and inspired and all that. So kind of lay out what it is, full stop. Then get into why you think it's pretty much all sisters up in that thing. So
yeah, so I'm a writing coach as well. In every space that I curate, like Black Gold Storytellers, I coach people through the process. And I have some curated writing groups that I lead, like healing writing circles, because I've seen the transform. You know this too. We know the transformative force that writing is. You can sit down, just depressed or just holding something and getting it out on the page is like a release. And, you know, when I first started doing this writing coaching work, I really wasn't intentioned. It wasn't my intention for it to be an all women's space. But, you know, that's just the client that I draw personally. And that's what you and I were talking about. I was like, how can I get more men to be interested in writing coaching or to be interested in writing circles, being in that type of healing space? Because I know, I mean, women, we've been doing this for years, sitting down, and we talked about that too. Like we will braid each other's hair and be like, girl, what's going on? And, you know, that's very transformative. And I think now we live in a time to where, you know, one of the buzzwords, which I don't personally like this buzzword, but toxic masculinity and
talk
all
about
of that is floating around. We live in that time where
oh, stop. I know you got more, but I am like, my sensitivity have been.
I'm sorry.
Tell me just if you could, if a line or two, what do you dislike about this toxic masculinity phrase?
Oh, what I dislike about it?
Hmm.
I think it is just a soundbite and a symptom of a larger construct. And since everything has to be reduced to characters in social media and it's all clickbait, you know, it's just to get us to click on it. But actually anybody can be toxic, I think. And from what I've seen with the descriptions of toxic masculinity, it points to things that are, you know, I don't think that defines masculinity. And so that's why I want to bring more men into the conversation, because as a woman, that's just my perspective. I'm like, toxic masculinity sounds like clickbait to me. It doesn't really get at the larger construct of, you know, divine masculine, divine feminine. There's a whole larger conversation that's missing. And so, what I hope to do through calling in me into the writing coaching space is letting us enter into a dialogue about healthy beingness, if that even, resonates.
So you want, wow, it sounds like you're only able to have half of the conversation because it's only women represented, and you want to have a whole conversation there in that space.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that perhaps some women in the space would feel uncomfortable if there was a strong male presence there?
I think if they know beforehand that um, the writing space is going to be inclusive of everyone,
Mhm.
because I have received some feedback that some women, Black women in particular, appreciate having that kind of safe space to be with each other. And sometimes I know this may sound problematic too, because they've shared with me that sometimes in like quote unquote POC spaces, that Black women still fall kind of at the bottom of whatever hierarchy is represented in that whole BIPOC continuum as well. That's another kind of buzzword acronym that I haven't really fully come online with either. I'm just, and that's why y'all don't really see me that much out here on these social media streets, because I'm just like everything. I guess being a writer too, you can relate. It's like everything is like encapsulated into an acronym or a buzzword, and it's not really capturing. You laughing at me? I feel like it's not really capturing like the full story.
So the issue that I have is when people use that, but they really mean black, but somehow black has become some kind of curse word. It can't just be black. It has to be all of these things. Like, no, we can just say black. We can censor blackness. Um, yeah, I feel like there's really been a intentional effort to kind of decenter blackness, and we need to center that if we're really going to address the things that are plaguing us. um so for sure, I get it. You're not big in the social media streets. It's not in alignment with who you are and how you see things. You are most certainly not alone in that regard. But let me ask you quite specifically, why do you think that the men, because you never specifically marketed to women, why do you think that the men have not shown up to your space?
Well, and that's why we've been chopping it up about this. I'm like, Porter, what do you think? Why would you come to my you
There you go. All right, all right. So
I,
listen, what do I think? Let's do it.
I'm
No, let's do
scratching
it.
my head about it.
Let's
I
do it. Let's
honestly
do it.
am.
Hey, let's do it. 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 What do I think? There's so much stigma around being a black boy. Before I was a man, I was a boy. Being a black boy and being into books and being a writer, um, and we are shaped by those early experiences as to what does it mean to be black and to be male, right? And there are modes of expression that are accepted, and there are those that are not. I learned in junior high school that to be a reader and to be a writer, to do well in school, somehow a lot of my peers interpreted that as betraying the culture. And I know that there were Black girls who I didn't face that scrutiny in the same way.
Mm,
Right. And it was other young Black boys. This is internalized racism. This is internalized hatred. This is all of those things. And I was that, right? I was a smart Black boy, and I did really well in school. And it's not like I played the accordion Adrienne Danyelle. It's not like I had suspenders in school and like I was a normal kid, you know what I mean? Like I did normal kid stuff. It's just like I like school. I like to learn. I did well. And I was ridiculed, man. I was ridiculed quite heavily. I got a 4.0, worst mistake in my life. Hey, my goodness.
Oh,
I made the mistake of getting a 4.0 in the seventh grade. And that kids was just like, oh, you a sellout. Like no, I mean, for real, it was rough. But I'll tell you one story. Before I identified as a writer, I knew the power of reading other people's writing.
mhm.
So I'm at King Estates Junior High School in the hills over Deep East Oakland. It no longer exists. There's still a campus, but it's no longer junior high school anymore. When it was a junior high school, it had a horrible reputation, typical inner city, troubled inner city school. You know what I mean? Like we needed Joe Clark. We
Oh,
needed we needed Michelle Pfeiffer, man. We were some dangerous minds, and so
you
we
need
need.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
You said we didn't need Michelle Pfeiffer.
Maybe Joe Clark, but you didn't need.
Hey, we needed all of them, man. We needed my guy Jaime. We needed Jaime Escalante. I know you don't know about Jaime Escalante. We needed a negative plus a negative equals a positive. That is that movie called Stand and Deliver. Hey, you don't know about Stand and Deliver. You don't know about Garfield.
I'm an educator. You know I know all the movies.
You know all the propaganda. We needed something, man. We needed Jesus. We needed everything, man, because we was, man, that school was rowdy, man. Kids getting knocked out. Listen, kids getting knocked out the first day of school, man. Kids getting robbed at school, man. All type of thing. It was that, man. It was dangerous, man. It was the most predatory environment I have ever been in my life. And I say this now as a fully grown man. I've been in a lot of places that were tough. That was the most predatory environment I've ever been in my life. So I'm in the 8th grade. And we have a substitute in Miss Boyd's English class. And this work on the board, nobody's really doing the work. And on the story was that we were supposed to be reading and answer the questions, right? I think we had a sub for a sub. We were probably 2 weeks into
Oh my
sub
goodness.
now. It was just like a mess, right? So everybody's kicking it, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody doing kids rolling blunts in class, like whatever. Like, it's, you know, but I see on the board, it says Anton Chekhov, The Bet. And I'm pretty sure that's his name. He's a Russian writer. The name of the story was The Bet. It's like, let me dig into my literature, my big old, I don't know, Hupton Mifflin, whatever it was, one of them big old, but let me, you know what I'm saying? Let me check this out, man. And I read it, and it was about a dude who somebody bet him, could he stay in like, it was like a little cellar. It was like a small, you're familiar with it? A small enclosed space for like several years. He talked about his experience being in that small place. And it was like very existential, and it was just speaking to me. And I was in Russia, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was there, and I hear a kid tell me, "Hey, nigga, you doing work?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm in East Oakland. I'm not rushed, but I was quick with it, Ayo. I was quick with it. I said, oh, might as well do some work out here." He's like, "Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, you right. I was like, that was a close one, man. Let me get back to my book. But it like that always having to be like defensive and protective, and knowing that what you're doing is wrong. Like, bro, like we gamble, we play hoop, you know what I'm saying? We about these females, we this, we that, da da da. We don't be reading and we don't be writing. And I think is that type of thing that like it strips the Black male of all of these positive vents and
Right.
so that prevent us from overheating. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so by the time we get into adulthood, we don't even we don't even know how we got here, but we know the things that we don't do. You know what I mean? So me writing and me pursuing writing was a very defiant act.
Mm,
And I think a lot of brothers never got into that defiance. They just kind of won't go along with what they are expected to do, what society dictates that they should be. And so I think that's why. I think the problem that you're having with your group is the problem that we're having with society.
mm,
Um, and you add to that the ways in which um, the Black man has been made to feel like his voice doesn't matter in his
mm.
own community. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you got a lot of brothers that'd be like not writing. It's cool to rhyme. It's cool to do this. It's cool to do that. It's cool to play hoop, but not cool to be expressive in that way. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and that, I mean, man, it's just so much in that. And I mean, that's part of the draw for me to hip hop, and just really studying the culture and the history and all the things about how it started, and incorporating some of the culture into my classes. Because in listening to hip hop, it just strikes me that that's writing. It's like, that is men writing. You know, you got to write those rhymes, especially like some of the lyricists from like early hip hop. Um, you know, you talk about like a Rakim or
Mm.
a Chuck D or something. And I mean, like, that was like some deep, you got to do some historical research.
Come on, man. Big Daddy Kane. Not
Yeah.
necessarily deep, but he's had me going to the dictionary. Like, what do you say? Like, Big Daddy Kane was ill. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't know how we can then translate that skill into something like writing an essay, because that's really the breakdown that we're seeing now. I try to tell, you know, the people we talk to on the daily all the time that this whole country was founded on words, the Constitution, laws. People write briefs and all kinds of white papers to get things passed. They're playing the long game, and we got to learn how to play that game too. I mean, that's why we're having the breakdown and the reversal of things like affirmative action and Roe versus Wade, because we not doing the writing and the reading. That's where, I mean, I'm not saying as a whole, but for the most part, change is made through the word.
Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, no, we don't read. We wait for people to tell us what we should think. We
Mm-hmm.
should endorse who we should not endorse. And we're just like, oh, I trust them. We are so lazy, and within these social media streets, they're just making us more lazy. Just making us more lazy. I totally agree. Let me ask you something, Nayo. Listen, for them dudes out there that, they might write or they might want to get into it, they might want to consider it. What would you tell them about your space? What's the name of the space? What's the name of the workshop? And what would you tell them to
Yes.
get them to consider your workshop?
So the workshop is the 808 Cure. Like I was saying, hip hop is a big, like, just everything for me. It informs the way I lead my workshops. It's very like cipher style, free flowing. I'm not the type of like facilitator to do a lot of speaking. I like to really just open up the space so that everyone feels like they have their turn at the mic, you know, kind of like this cipher style. And I've heard from writers. I just had a workshop, Healing Historical Trauma, that I did as a fundraiser for Dairy Hollow Writers Colony in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And, you know, everybody was emailing me afterwards. They were just like, thank you for your leadership and just holding that space. It was all women. It was not advertised. You can look at my post on Instagram for the Writing Historical Trauma It just says writing historical trauma for writers of color. It does not even say for women or anything, but only women showed up.
Mhm.
And so this was a workshop I had last Friday. And really the only thing I did was just open the floor, you know, and because a lot of times for people to sign up for a workshop called Healing Historical Trauma, there something about that resonates with them and they have something they want to write on the page, they want to get off their chest. And so I just see myself as like the holder of space. So a lot of times, thank you for saying that this problem is probably societal and structural, because a lot of times I'm like, is it me? Is it because, people see that a woman is leading it, that they think
Mm.
it's for women, or maybe they don't want to sign up.
Mm.
One of my mentors told me, she was like, you might as well just go ahead and market your business for women, because men are never going to sign up because they don't want to listen to a Black woman. And I was like,
Pause. Um, Black men have been listening to Black women for at least the first 18 years of their lives. That is the first authority. And that's interesting that conclusion would be drawn, but you know.
well, I'm just saying, it just has me really kind of, I guess, thinking maybe it's something I'm doing, but maybe it's just like you said, it's a lot of societal factors at
Mm.
play.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things going on. So you tell them what? You tell them what though? What would you tell these Black men? They out there.
I would tell them that the room is open for you. There is space for you. I, I'm very familiar with the stigma of writing and being smart being uncool for Black men.
Mhm.
And it's time to start undoing that. It's time to take up space, because I mean, it's really, for me, not to be hyperbolic, but it's like a life or death situation,
Mm.
because I feel like that's why our community is bleeding right now. That's why our
Mm.
voice isn't being heard,
Mhm.
because we're missing that crucial voice.
Amen, amen, amen. Uh, well, listen, you're a professor, a higher education.
Uh-oh. We're
Hey, you know what,
gonna
man?
talk about school now.
I'm gonna talk about school, right? Because I just want to get your opinion on this, man. Biden, he said that he was going to get rid of student debt, um, essentially, right? For a lot of people, whatever. That was the platform that he had run on, and now in Congress, they're just like, nah, it's not going to happen, right? But Nancy Pelosi and others have stated that that is not even like he does not have the power to do that. Like, that's not his place. He's capping the whole time. Like, never able to do that. But I don't want to get into Biden right now, but I do want to get into student debt. With student debt being so astronomical, um, and people being 100, $200,000, like huge numbers, right? Would you recommend that students go to college right now to accrue that debt? Do you think that college is worth it right now, considering that debt?
Not right now. I feel like students could sign up for my writing workshop. Learn just as much at a
But way cheaper, right?
economically friendly price. I mean, if we can
Ah,
pay cash, I would say yes, by all means, because I'm not going to sit here, with a doctorate and say education isn't important. But the way this country prices it is, because there are other countries where college is free.
mhm.
So I would say don't go into debt for it.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure, for sure. what is the
What would you say, Professor?
what would I say? Yo, if you want to be an artist, I would say the objective is to create art. And there are people such as Richard Wright, who was one of my literary heroes, who never went to college. There is the great writer James Baldwin, never graduated from college. And so I think if you want to be an artist, you need to study the game and you need to create art. A lot of times people give their best in whatever field to the institution
Mhm.
instead of to the actual society. And
Yeah,
people, your brain thinks that the challenge is that the objective is the grade. No, the objective is the application.
right.
The application of what you are learning in society. And I was in wild debt at one point because I went to a private school to get my master's, right? The school don't even exist anymore.
Oh my God. Oh, it exists just in a new iteration.
R.I.P. Mills College. Anyway,
Moment of silence, because that's where I am my MFA too. So it's like,
yeah, man. Now Northeastern campus, but whatever. Northeastern and East Oakland, that makes sense. Whatever, they bought it out. But the point is, we did create. We wrote a lot of things. That was cool. Met righteous people. That was cool. I was deep in my creative space. That was cool. For all that money, they did not teach us how to take your product to the market at
yeah,
all. How do you sell this thing that you've been writing instead of waiting on a publishing house to find you, or you keep submitting to these magazines and keep getting rejected? Yeah, that's part of the process. You know what else could be part of the process? Is you printing that thing out and you taking it to, man, take that thing down to Walmart, take that thing down to Coliseum BART station, take that thing. So like that would have been great. And that would have been part of the grade. Print that thing out and you make money off of it right now so you don't have to depend on anyone else.
right.
And so for me, I was on it, right? I published my book. I burnt out on the marketing side very early because I realized, oh my God, okay, I put my soul into this book.
Right.
Now it's just like, how do you sell your soul? Like it was just like
Oh,
I didn't know. It was just like for like the first month or so, the posters was up, the emails, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. And after that, it was just like, dang, do I have to incorporate this into every conversation that I have?
yeah.
And the book is called The Souls of Hood Folk, y'all. It's
Just
still
in
available
case.
on
Yeah.
Google.com. The follow-up has got to be coming at some point, but it's The Souls of Hood Folk. If y'all want to buy it, it's all good. Go ahead and buy that book. This is the first time I've ever mentioned on my podcast. That just goes to say, so yeah, I've actually never
You
mentioned
shout
my book
it
before.
need to be in the description of every podcast.
Oh, yeah. But no, so I think that a lot of fields they overdo it as far as the educating piece and not just going out there and doing it. For me, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't learn it until I actually do it.
Right.
And I think people get addicted to school,
Right.
and people don't realize like, nah, you got to go out there. And so I think that the college, they kind of facilitate that they facilitate people being handicapped and people being dependent on the college,
Yeah.
right? Instead of just getting enough, go out there. Like, for
Right.
example, a school like Juilliard, the most prominent names that you know that graduated from this not graduated, strike that from the record, that attended this prestigious art institution in the state of New York, the most famous people didn't graduate because they got that opportunity and then they got there, right? And then they went after and they started getting into the business. Oprah Winfrey, she went to an HBCU. I can't remember which one. Do you know which one? So
I can't, not off the top.
so shout out Oprah. She went to college, and then she dropped out of college because opportunity is here,
Mm,
right? Bill Gates, we can go on down the line, but I
right.
think we need to know the
Ta-Nehisi Coates, we taught his book.
Ta-Nehisi B. Coates. Oh my God, between the world
Got
and me,
power. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. He was just like, I got enough. I want to write now. I want to actually do it.
right.
And so that's what it's about. It's not about the grades. It's not about the degree. It's about
Mhm.
getting enough to get you out there into the field. And then it's also about the networking, the people that you meet and how you build
Right.
and grow with them. And
Speak up.
unfortunately, I learned all of this after college. um, but I
Yeah.
think I would like to see the colleges facilitate that kind of thinking, and I try to do it when I tell my students, man. I show my students the legendary, notorious Dame Dash Breakfast Club interview,
Right.
when he's talking about being a boss. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Yeah.
just going out there and getting and putting your money up and all of these things. Um, I try to share that, but I think that
Yeah, I think I've seen some Dame Dash interviews where he talks about just he don't even have money in his account because he's like,
it's
just
all in the streets. That's what he said. He said it's all in the streets. It's all
yeah, it's all out working for him.
And
Hmm.
I'm not, that's his business model. I'm not here to necessarily like praise or criticize his business model, but he said it very clear. Working for another man is weak to him. You know what I mean? Like, and he can, like, my goodness, we're gonna have an interview about that interview, but just like, nah, but he said everybody, people have jobs and think it's okay to have jobs because people on the radio tell them that it's okay to have a job, and we are so conditioned. The reality that I could want to be a writer since I was in the 12th grade,
Mm.
undergrad, go to grad school, and then when it's time, when my book has finally come out, I self-published my book, feel uncomfortable with selling it is wild to me. Like,
Yeah.
and end up, oh, well, let me just get a job. You know what I mean? Feeling like me pursuing my art when I was doing all the readings and getting published and this, that, the other, but I
Yeah.
need something steady, instead of really pursuing my dreams. And I think that
Yeah.
I think it's got to we have to do something different and kind of wean these students off of
And I
the
do
institution.
think like Gen Z, they're already doing that because I see them just making money off of
I'm
an
wrong.
Instagram page, being influencers. They making more, they got better phones, cars, everything than we got because
Mm,
they got endorsements.
they're sharp. They're sharp. They're definitely sharp. And I think that's a positive
Yeah.
about social media because they brand and they having viral tweets and then they make the t-shirt of the viral tweet and
Right.
sell out I'm like, yo, they're like
Yeah.
yeah, and then they peep the debt situation too. They see their older brothers and sisters
Yeah.
all this
Mhm.
crazy debt. They like, nah, man, I'm not with it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
It's mainly us, like the Gen X and maybe the millennials probably have a little bit of that, but I think the generation after that, they're kind of peeping game.
they peeping gang. I just do how I fear that as sick as this system is, they're gonna figure out a way to like re-enslave them. You know what I'm saying? Um, but they do. They sell things, they market things, they're into self-promotion and self-branding like no one's
Right.
business. Like they own it. Like they own it.
We like signing up for their master course, like talking about,
Yeah. No.
on how to post on Instagram. I see all kind of stuff about, you know, little classes on how to increase your following and stuff like that. But
Yeah, they got it, man. They got it. So yeah, there's hope. Yeah, there's hope for sure. Well, listen, AO, how can people reach you? I know you're not in these social media streets, but do you have social media? Do you have something combining all these wonderful things that you're doing? Plug away right now.
Okay, so I do have an Instagram account. It is Dr. Adrienne Danyelle, and my website is www.adriennedanielle.com. And you can, and that's kind of the place where I'm trying to consolidate everything, the books, the workshops, and coaching. If you're interested, if you are a Black man and you want to come in to the writing space, you are welcome. And, also I have a lot of offerings for Black women and women of color. And I intentionally do those groups separately because some of my Black women groups want the Black woman only space. And then I also have the women of color space for, just Latino women that want to join the space as well, or any other, the BIPOC acronym, for lack of a better term. I know we all have nuanced different experiences. We out of time to really do that kind of breakdown, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Well, listen, man. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on ABT, for having you grace our channel. And of course, we want to support Dr. Adrienne Danyelle. We want to support her. So follow her. She might not post as much as you want to, but follow her so when she does post, you know what's going on. Black Storytelling Gold. Make sure you're into that. Make sure you sign up for the workshop. Make sure you buy this sister's books, man. Buy the sister's book and then actually read them, man. Get up with her. She's dope. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Porter and ABT watchers.
It's all good. We got another one. Hey, one more thing, people. Please do not forget to subscribe to the tribe. We're going to Ghana in November. Email awkwardblacktribe@gmail.com to learn more. Until then, peace, tribe. And another one.